Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin appeared at the World Economic Forum, and a little moment occurred where Sinema is talking. She's now an independent senator, talking about the work she feels that she's helped to get done as senator, and Joe Manchin has helped to get done. And at the end, they high five over their stance against getting rid of the filibuster. And we'll talk about that more in a second, but here's this.
They go a my way or the highway did. Pelosi did it. McCarthy's doing it. This is not healthy for democracy. So I think that this is an opportunity for us as a country to look back and say, is this partisanship serving us? I would posit to you that it's not. And so while some would say that there were reluctant folks working in Congress in the last 2 years, I would actually say that that was the basis for the productivity for some incredible achievements that made a difference for the American people in the last 2 years.
And we still don't agree on getting rid of the filibuster.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So you saw there, Joe Manchin said that we still don't agree, meaning Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin still don't agree on getting rid of the filibuster, and then they high-fived. So let's dive into that and why that position, I think, is incorrect. Of course, we know Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin as the two Democratic senators is what they used to be when they were doing these things. Now, Kyrsten Sinema is an independent technically, but still kind of works with the Democrats. And they were the reason why a lot of Biden's agenda and the agenda every other Democratic senator was on board with and the Democratic-led House was on board with wasn't able to get through because of those two individuals and the stances that they had. Well, specifically with the filibuster, before we dive into why I have the stance that I do, what is the filibuster, just in case you have forgotten or you're new to politics, whatever it might be? Before a bill is voted on, they have a debate portion of time, right? And so senators are able to go back and forth, debate why they do support, don't support, whatever it might be. And because it wasn't explicitly a rule that there was a time limit on that, it was realized that if you wanted to block a bill from getting passed, you could just indefinitely take your time to talk during the debate portion and not end talking so that the voting process wouldn't be able to begin. Okay, so that makes sense so far. Well, then senators kind of got tired of that, presumably, and changed it to where, okay, if we can get a certain number of votes, and now the number's 60, we can end the debate portion, go straight to the voting process. So we can skip someone standing up there and filibustering for a super long time to block the voting process and just skip because we have enough votes. We have 60 votes. We're going to end that period of time. Now, it is so arbitrary. It's just a Senate rule. And what it's done, if you remember none of that, what that has done in effect is make it to where if any senator disagrees with a bill, they in theory would filibuster. So they just have to voice the fact that they don't support a bill. And thus, it is brought to 60 votes that has to be reached for this bill to get through. And now we get to why this is so wild. The Senate has to get 60 votes in regular order. You've heard about the budget reconciliation. If it relates to the budget, you can do it on a 50-vote margin every so often. But setting that aside, regular order, 60 votes is needed. And so Republicans, who already benefit from the fact that rural states have way more disproportionate power in the Senate because of the way that the Senate is structured. Of course, every state gets 2 senators. And so California over here with tens of millions of people has the same representation as Wyoming that has less than 1 million people. And I have the specific numbers on California versus California has 68 times more people than Wyoming does, but has the exact same number of senators, right? And you have the concerns with states' rights and all this, but that is the reality. Whether you agree or disagree, that's the reality, that rural states are much more powerful in the representation in the Senate. And to make this even more clear, in the last Senate that was split 50-50, 50 Democratic senators, 50 Republican senators, the Democratic half would represent, or did represent, around 41 million more people. So they were representing way more people who in effect had less of a voice in the Senate than the Republican Party that represented less people but still had the same amount of senators. And so you have all of that already. Republican Party way disproportionately has a lot of power. Then you add on top of that the fact that you need to get 60 votes because of the filibuster. And that makes it near impossible for the Democratic Party. And so individuals like Kyrsten Sinema, who used to be in the Democratic Party, now they're not, and Joe Manchin, are standing in the way of the Democratic Party getting rid of the filibuster, which you could do because it's just a Senate rule, and allowing the Democratic Party to be able to get more things done because the American people gave them a majority in the Senate. So you can see why I have such an aggravated tone towards individuals like Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. Kyrsten Sinema now being independent, but she still kind of caucuses with the Democrats and should want these agenda items to get through. But she says, no, in kind of this enlightened centrist type of way, we need to give a voice to Republicans too. Yes, they have it. They have so much more of a voice compared to populations than the Democratic Party does. You don't need to also give them the filibuster. It is so absurd. And I really wish we could get better senators in there and really accomplish some amazing things that are absolutely necessary in America.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before any of the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get a full extra show every single Saturday, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley, and there's a link in the description.